Welcome back to my channel, My Fish and I. Today's topic is the top 10 best plants for a shrimp tank. Number 1, moss. Moss. Any moss, Java moss, Christmas moss, any moss is excellent. Weeping moss, any moss is excellent for a shrimp tank because it provides them very good hiding place for the shrimplets, and also it promotes good oxygen rich water, reduces stress for the shrimps, and by providing a lot of hiding space, especially for the babies. As you can see, my shrimp love crawling on the moss. I have Christmas moss, I have Java moss, I have weeping moss. Any sort of moss, they love grazing on the moss, and that is an excellent plant, my number 1 plant for the shrimp tank. Number 2, most people don't even talk about this plant, is Dwarf Sagge. Dwarf Sagittarius. My shrimp love it. If you look at this Dwarf Sagge, it keeps small. This is in a nice 5-gallon shrimp tank. If you look at those leaves, this plant, especially under medium light or low light, it will stay small and it won't run. But if you put it on highlight, oh my god, it'll take all over the place. But if you look, the shrimp like it. If you look right there, there's a small shrimp. They're hiding underneath the leaves. They're grazing on the little leaves that's crawling up, because you know what, I put the light on it, grows a lot of algae, and the baby shrimps love grazing on it, that I found. So Dwarf Sagge, and the roots, they like to hide underneath it. So the Dwarf Sagge is my number 2 pick. Can't go wrong. Number 3, Sculpin Tang. I don't even know if I say that right, but I want to put it on the screen. This plant and shrimp goes together. Shrimp love grazing on it. There's probably hundreds of baby love hiding on it. It grows slow at first, but once it takes off, it will take off. You don't need nothing. You can just leave it on the substrate and it'll just do its thing, roll up in a little ball and do its thing. I have this attached to actually a piece of driftwood, and it grows like that. It grows really good. But the shrimps love it. Moderate light grow this very well. You know what I'm saying? But is a lot of surface area for baby shrimps to hide. And as you can see, if you look, you can see the shrimp them grazing up and down on it, always foraging for food and always looking for biofilm and whatever it's in there. They just love this. It's like this plant and shrimp goes together. The next one is water Restera. This need a moderate to high light. The shrimp, I find, I float this in my tank, and also you can plant it in the substrate. So I like to float this because I realize the shrimp like to, if they need some cover at the top, they love to go on it and graze on the roots, graze on the broad leaves. And I noticed that, you know what, the shrimp actually really like it. If you put it under highlight, this will take over your whole tank, man. This grows like a monster. It look like it'll just take over the whole tank. So I have mine on the medium light, and I realize it doesn't really spread as fast. It doesn't grow as fast. I always keep it on a little lower light and medium light, and we're pretty good. But when I put it on highlight, it takes over everything. Next one is Java Fern. You need low to moderate light for this. Float this guy. I have this on the ground attached to driftwood. I actually tied up to the outlet pipe and float it on top, so I can give another thing for the baby shrimps and the adult shrimp to graze on at the top. I like these plants because you can just attach it to a rock, attach it to a piece of driftwood, or just let it float. It does its thing. It's easy to take care of. It doesn't need much light. They eat from the water column. Java Fern. That boy is what you need to put for your shrimp, because they'll love it. You know what I'm saying? The next plant that, the shrimp you gotta have, and the shrimp love that, I don't think people really know, is Anubius. I have all sort of Anubius in my shrimp tank. I have white, I have jade, I have Nana Petite, I have Nana, any Anubius will go, because you know what, they're slow growing plants, and a lot of times when you have them under the light, they'll grow a lot of algae on top. But once you have it in the shrimp tank, that's not a bother, because your shrimp will graze on that and just clean up them algae like nobody's business. So I like, even when I have my Anubius in another tank and they get full with the green algae, I just throw it in my shrimp tank. I just throw it in there, and within a week all the algae are gone. You know what I'm saying? All the algae is cleared off by our little shrimplets and shrimps, and they do their thing. So that's a must have, because it seems like algae and Anubiuses go hand in hand. They just work together like a boss, and the shrimp like algae. So next plant is Buceeeeeee. This is another slow growing plant, which, as you can see, if you look closely, you see the shrimp, they always be grazing on this plant, because slow growing plant always promote a lot of algae. So once you have a lot of algae, the friggin' shrimp know that it's food, so it's gonna be on those plants and be doing the shrimp stuff and cleaning that bad boy, because the shrimps are literally like the janitor of the aquarium. No pun intended. They're good little scavengers, so they don't need much to survive. But when you got any algae on your plant, you just throw them in your shrimp and snail tank, and these guys will just clean it for you. You don't have to use no chemicals, because they're constantly working, and the more they breed, they got more little army to do more work. So they love the boost. Sometimes you can attach it to wood, can make it float. You can just sit on where it have. The final plant is Hydraphylla. You need, for the boost, you can have like low light and moderate light. Doesn't need highlight. If you get highlight, more algae. So the last one, Hydraphylla, moderate to bright light. If you put it on bright light, this thing's gonna grow and take over everything. Shrimp love to graze on the roots. I plant some, you can plant it in the substrate, or you can literally plant it, let it float on top. It's not eat from the water column, so it's not a plant that require much. But as I said, if you don't do it, it's gonna take over. Next plant is the hornwort. Hornwort, can't go wrong, man. Scuds love it. So if you have scuds in your shrimp tank, you want to know if you have scuds in there. As you can see, the shrimps just grazing on the hornwort tip. If you want to know if you have scud in your tank, throw a hornwort in it. If you see it's been stripped clean, you have scuds with your shrimps. And use the hornwort to let the scuds eat it, and just pull out the hornwort and throw it in a bucket. You see all them come. Scuds love that. So for me to get rid of my scuds, I always put some hornwort in there once I just get them, and the scuds, I just take the scuds out. Shrimps also love it. As you can see, they like to graze on it, the fine leaves. And hornwort, you can plant it in the substrate, or you can just let it float on top to give it more cover. He has a lot of surface area for that. The next plant is Bopa. Bopa, the bulletproof plant. The Bopa can grow out. I like the roots, because you can see shrimps hide in the roots. I float it up, or you can plant it in the substrate. So I like to float it in my shrimp tank, because I know the shrimp like to graze on those broad leaves, and they like to hide in the roots, and they like to graze on the roots. So the Bopa is an excellent plant for the shrimp tank, because it's so versatile. You can float it, you can plant it, and you can't go wrong with Mr. Bopa. aka the money wort. You know what I'm saying? And it needs light to moderate light. That's the floating part. You know what I'm saying? Light to moderate. And you can float it or plant it. Sorry, this is a Hydraphylla. Moderate to bright light, plant, floating, eat from the water column. Love it. The shrimp don't like to go in it because once you have, if you have it on highlight, as I said before, it's gonna take over everything and it's gonna grow too fast. So I like to keep it on moderate light and it grow at a reasonable pace and it doesn't take over. But the shrimp and shrimplet like to hide in between the roots and hide in between those broad leaves, especially the back of the leaf. So if you make it this far in the video of my top 10 shrimp tank, please like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful day.